What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another episode of the RPO College Football Podcast, your favorite college football podcast. I'm your host, Jerome Jones. You already know who I am. Go Blue. And we got the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Ray Roberts. How you doing today, sir?
I'm good, Jerome. How are you?
I'm great, man. I'm so excited to be here talking to you again. And with all our viewers, thank you all for being out there and being with us today. We do appreciate each and every one of you guys. Before we start, we all know this is an interactive podcast, so make sure you put your comments in here. Let us know what you think about what's going on with the playoffs, man, because it's playoff season, baby. So let us know, if you have any questions or you want to talk about something that we discussed, definitely put it in the chat room right down here, and we will put it live on the podcast. But how you been, Ray? How is your bowl season looking right now, man? How you feeling?
Good. I, of course, Notre Dame not being included in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying they should have been, but I would have rather they were, of course. But
yeah,
I mean, I always look forward to bowl season, of course, the playoffs.
yeah.
I guess we're going to get into these games over there. I was very disappointed in the games we had last weekend, but besides that,
I mean, I get what you're saying with the disappointment with some of these games because there were some disappointing ones. But I mean, I'm happy.
well, yeah. If my team was on the other end of a beat down of another in my own conference, I'd be happy too. It's not that I was surprised by the outcome. Jerome, I tell you this all the time. I want good games.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get any good games last weekend. I didn't. So
yeah, I agree with that. It was a lot of beat down games, and some were expected and some were unexpected. So let's just get right into it because man, I'm super excited to talk about this because man, it's great to such discussion on some of these games. So let's get into the first game, and I would love to announce for the first time this season, this man right here did not jinx Utah program. Utah beat Oregon. What was the score, Ray?
38-10. Another one of those games that was not very good, actually. So
30, yeah. Yes, 38-10. Let's talk about it. This is the second game against these two guys. They're playing against each other. Utah and Oregon. And both times Utah got the better of them, and it wasn't even close. What is it that Utah did against Oregon that was maybe different from either what other teams try to do to them? Because they were rolling, they only had one loss of the season before playing Utah, and Utah gave them their third loss of the year, and it wasn't too long ago. These teams just played each other, and Utah got the best of them, and they did it twice in a row. What's some takeaways you got from this game, right?
Utah's defense has played very well the second half of the season. I think that the fact that Oregon didn't try anything new, they kind of just thought it seemed like they were go out there with the same type of a game plan. We're going to try to establish a running game. It never happened. Utah didn't let them do that. So it really got away from them really quickly. So,
Yeah, definitely. And, Utah, again, we talked about this last time. Utah's defense destroyed Oregon, and they did it again this year. This game. Brown only had two interceptions. He had two interceptions and no touchdowns. 13 for 24. So, the completion rate was fine, but only 147 yards, which told me a lot of checkdowns. It wasn't nothing. They couldn't do nothing deep. They couldn't run the ball. They only had 74 yards running. Very poor performance. Only 22 combined offensive yards. And Utah did what they had to do. They ran the ball very effectively. Rising had a sufficient game. Nothing crazy, but he did enough to let them win and not allow them to keep the ball out their hands a lot. He had himself a 9 attempt rushing game as well. Do you think that was the game plan just to keep Oregon's offense off the field, or do you think that's just the best thing for Utah to do to them?
I think that was part of the game plan. I think that Utah beat them 38-7 in the first game, so it's not like it was surprising. It wasn't surprising at all. If anything, Utah's defense it's crazy. They gave up 10 points this time and 7 the last time, but really their defense played better in the second game. They completely shut down their running game. They didn't do almost nothing in the run game, and it just really wasn't a good game for them. I mean, Travis Dye had an okay game at 82 yards, but the Utah's defense is one of them defenses that they're aggressive, but they're not aggressive where they put pressure on the quarterback. They're aggressive. They shoot gaps. They shut down your running game as quickly as they can. Mm-hmm. And after that, you're pretty much done. I mean, they're a good team. Utah is a good team. It's a shame their offense is a little bit better, or they'd probably be a way better team, actually. So
yeah, if their offense could compare to their defense, yeah, I agree with you, Ray. It would definitely be night and day. Yeah. But one of those games where we both say, we both know Oregon's going to win. Utah was only favored by 3 in that game, but yeah, they totally dominated them in that game. So, go ahead. You got any final words?
Yeah, that's, again, like you said, only a 3-point line, but
yeah.
I was surprised that it got as out of hand as it did. But I think Anthony Brown with 2 picks, barely a little over, like slightly over 500 completion percentage again. The run game was okay. It was not special. I think Utah's thought process was, let's just, don't let them get in the end zone, and we'll pretty much take control of the game, and pretty much that's what happened. So,
yeah, 100%. All right, let's get to our next game: Baylor versus Oklahoma State. Another preview game that we had before. Oklahoma winning this game. Baylor winning this game 21-16. What do you take away from this game, Ray?
That Blake Shapen for Baylor had a nice game, 23 of 28, 180, only 180, but 3 touchdowns, no turnovers. I was a little surprised that Baylor won the game. I think I picked Oklahoma State to win the game, so that part of it surprised me.
We both did.
Just Spencer Sanders, 4 picks. I mean, you can't really. You're not going to win games if your quarterback's turning the ball over like that. So
yeah, it didn't help that some of those picks were early on in the game as well. Yeah, I think that was the biggest difference right there was that fact right there. But it was just to me, I think it was just sloppy game from Oklahoma.
It was this funny thing. This is the one game that was competitive, but it was only competitive because both teams really played kind of sloppy. So
100%. And the fact that this game could have been a lot better if the sloppiness, because if you look at Baylor's offense, only 242 yards.
Yeah, again, if it wasn't for the turnovers by the Oklahoma State quarterback, it may have been a different outcome. So,
yeah, 100%. So, like Ray, like you said, these games wasn't the best games, but we will go through them. Let's get to our next one. It's Houston versus Cincinnati. Our guy Lamarcus, who's not on today, I wish he was, because we will be able to ask him what was his thought process in this game, because he had Houston beating Cincinnati. And it wasn't even close. 20-35 by the third quarter. It was just over. It was gross. At halftime, it was 14-13, and then Cincinnati just took over in the third quarter. What was some of your takeaways from that one, Ray?
Cincinnati is a good team. I mean, I think they're a little underrated. I have looked at their schedule. They only played one ranked team the whole year. So, I mean, I understand why people are underestimating them a little bit. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, they're a good team. They have a good offense. The quarterback's a pretty good college player. Their defense is solid. Their secondary is good. So, I mean, Cincinnati's a good team. They're not going to do anything in the playoffs, but they're a good team.
Yeah. So we're gonna talk a little bit about the rankings and should they be, but let me just put this in the atmosphere for you guys to know what teams they played. Miami of Ohio, not even Miami of Florida. Miami of Ohio, Murray State, Indiana, Notre Dame. So that was their ranked game.
Mm-hmm.
Temple, UCF, um, Navy, Tulane, Tulsa, South Florida, SMU, East Carolina, and then Houston. So this is kind of the reason why a lot like with Ray saying some people think they should have been that high. They were undefeated. They was one of the only undefeated teams in the college football playoffs. So, and we're going to talk a little bit more in depth with that later on. But
You know what, though,
it,
Jerome? Can I mean, you know where I differ from other people though is where like when you hear the same thing when people are evaluating college players to say, well, if they don't play in a great conference. My thing is Cincinnati does not play in a great conference, but they dominated the conference.
yeah,
When you have players from lower division teams, if you're as long as they dominate in their conference, you got to take a shot on them. You have to. So
yeah. I mean, if you look at the scores, the only like really score, like you say, it wasn't really dominant. It was two games. Navy, which everybody kind of struggles against them sometimes if you're not very prepared because they do the wishbone,
mm-hmm.
and Tulsa. And it's two games that we were talking about this year that it was close games for them, but everybody else, like you said, they dominated. Even
Mm-hmm.
with a couple of two back to back 50-point games.
I mean,
So
and Tulsa has a good defense.
they
And
do,
the thing I think with Navy is they kind of like drag you into playing their type of football, which
yeah,
is 3 yards in a cloud of dust type offense and a defense that tries to play stingy and bend but don't break a lot of times.
yeah,
I mean, and Navy's one of the teams that their coach is such a great guy. I think teams feel like I just want to beat him. I don't need to pile up on him. So that kind of
yeah,
gets involved in that, I think, too. Also, so
yeah, yeah. So Cincinnati's in the playoffs. We'll talk. I mean, again, we'll talk a little extensively on that, but that's how their season looked from there. All right, let's get to the two games that we're going to talk about the most. Obviously, let's get to my Michigan team first. Michigan beating Iowa very handily. 42-3. Just destroyed them. Um, I will say this: I'm a Michigan fan. Obviously, I watched the game. It was a struggle in the beginning. I would say that. It was, Michigan scored early on, and then it was like a dry spell for a minute where it was just like, man, like Michigan might be struggling. I mean, there was no point of the game that I thought that Michigan was gonna lose, right? But it was points where it's just like, man, like Michigan should be beating up on these guys. What's going on? And then finally in the fourth quarter, got 21 points and, just totally dominated them. But the main thing I want to say about this game is Michigan's defense is real. I'll say that. Michigan defense is a real defense. I mean, they've been balling out all year, against some of the best talented teams. They been balling. And the only game that really I seen that they really struggle with was the Michigan State game, which the game that they lost. And they struggled because of a really elite running back. And I've been saying this since I've been a Michigan fan. When there's a elite running back that we go against for some reason, we struggle really bad against them. The Saquon Barkley's, the Ezekiel Elliott's, the J.K. Dobbins. When you got a really good running back in the college ranks, and we go against the Michigan, I noticed that like we struggle against them. But even Jonathan Teller went off on us 2 years ago.
seems
So
like
it just
sounds like poor linebacker play, but
Yeah. No, no, Ray. I give you that. I give you that. I don't know if did we have this off camera, this conversation, but I remember we had a
yeah, we had
conversation.
it on camera. I told you to mention a Michigan linebacker. You named three in like an hour, but
Devin Bush, Lamar Woodley. Who else?
Well,
I can think of some ones. You got a young guy. You got a young guy I really like too. Junior Colson. I think he's going to be a good linebacker for us. He's been playing as a true freshman this year, so he's playing really well, but he's still young. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Michigan is known for their offensive line and defensive line. I'm okay with that. I'm
They
okay with
are,
that.
and they produce good corners and safeties. They do.
Yeah, yeah.
They're,
So
and they're just not great. They're not a great team for linebackers. They're just not.
yeah. So what was your takeaway from this game?
That Michigan basically did what they had to do. I think that Iowa's defense, at least their front seven, is pretty good.
Yeah.
So I think Michigan went in there with a good game plan. Let me just do what we have to do in the run game. Eventually, Iowa won't be able to score points, and they'll just wear it down, and we'll have our way with them when we can.
Yeah,
and that's pretty much what happened.
definitely.
By the middle of the third quarter, you knew the game was over. So
Yeah. The one thing I'll say is, Michigan's play calling. I love it. I mean, the only thing that bothers me sometimes, and I hope Jim Harbaugh will be very careful what he does with J. McCaffrey, because he keeps putting him in, and then turnovers happen and things like that. J. McCaffrey threw a pick in that game. I'm very worried. He had 3 attempts in that game. One of them was a really good throw that set up a touchdown. But I just think that trying to be too cute with the changing the quarterbacks, and we talked about this before when the Michigan State game. I'm just worried. We're playing Georgia first, and we're gonna get into those games later on when the games get closer. But we're gonna be playing Georgia now. Very good defense. If we pass from there, we got another 2 teams with really good defense. I'm just worried that we tried too hard with the quarterback play. Now, some of the trick plays, I like them. The pass by Donovan Edwards that got a touchdown, a 75-yard touchdown. I like stuff like that. The game against Iowa State, where we did the reverse to get the touchdown and the first touchdown of the game. I like stuff like that. But when you keep changing your quarterbacks, that's where I get kind of scared about. What's your take on that, Ray?
McNamara's playing good football. Just play him. I would not screw around with the quarterback, man. Not now.
I 100% agree. 100%.
I mean, it was nothing. Like we said, I think that was one of the contributing factors with losing to Michigan State.
Mm-hmm.
At this point of the season, I don't understand. If you wanted to get that, the younger quarterback out there earlier in the season, but right now it's meat and potato time. It's playoff time.
Mm-hmm.
Put your quarterback out there and let him play. I hate juggling quarterbacks, man. Unless you because as the old saying goes, if you have 2 starting quarterbacks, you probably don't even have 1. So it's just
I agree.
Play your run, use your running game, because you have 2 good running backs. You could argue you have 3 good running backs. You have good running backs. You have a solid quarterback who has been making plays for you, especially in the second half of the season. Leave him alone and go out there and play football.
100% agree. 100% agree. And I just think that, I think, like you say, I just think that, you have to keep your guy in there. You got to trust your guy and let him play. You got a freshman out there that's going to be playing these bowl games, and one turnover can change the entirety of any of these games. So we're going to talk a little bit.
I also think that, why would you do that? If McNamara wasn't playing good football, I'd be like, okay, well, maybe you need to spice it up a little bit, but you don't. He's playing good football. Your defense is dominating teams right now. I mean, why mess around with that?
Yeah, I agree. All right, let's get to the game of the week, obviously. That wasn't that much of a game after a while. Alabama versus Georgia. Alabama destroying Georgia. I did not see this coming, right, at all. If you came to me and said Alabama's gonna do what they did to Georgia, you're lying. You are lying. I don't care who you are. You do not come to me and say that you thought this was gonna happen. Alabama 41-24. Ray, what was your takeaway from this one?
I have several different ones. We could probably take about a half an hour to go over all of them. But no, I think if you would have said to me one team was going to blow out the other, I would have said Alabama would more than likely blow out Georgia. But of course, I picked Georgia. I didn't think Alabama was going to beat them. I thought that Georgia would play good defense and do enough in the run game to beat Alabama in a close game. I was completely wrong. I'll be the first one to admit it. And I'll be honest with you, I feel sorry. I feel a little sympathetic for Georgia fans right now because it's becoming obvious that if you ever want to win a championship, you have to fire Kirby Smart now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you could say what you want about it. And I know Kirby Smart has generally done a pretty good job. He's a pretty good recruiter. His defense gave up 41 points again in a big game to Alabama.
His defense that was dominant this year.
Yes, and it's his defense. He's a defensive guy. Yeah. He gave up 41 points again to Alabama.
All right, let's look at Georgia's schedule from this year because I just want to see what was.
I can tell you. Here's the thing.
Before that game was 17 to Tennessee.
Right.
There was nobody else that got more than 13 before that.
Right.
Listen to the defensive score that out. The first game of the season, this is Clemson, 3 points, 7 points, 13, 0, 0, 10, 13, 7, 6, 17. That's the Tennessee game. 7, 0, and then to Alabama, 41. 41 points.
Right.
That's and Ray, I'm from Georgia, and I got a lot of Georgia fans around me, and just to listen to them, talking to them, and me and you both, if I'm not mistaken, me and you both had every single game, championship game we agreed on last week. So yeah. I took Georgia as well. But one thing I did say that if Kirby Smart's in this game, which he did, they're going to lose the game. And I thought maybe this year might be different. And that was rough, Ray. What was you about to say? I'm sorry.
I mean, basically, you saw Bryce Young. I think Bryce Young's going to win the Heisman now.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be the last thing people are going to remember is how well he played against Georgia. He's more than likely going to win the Heisman, and he deserves it. He's played very well this year. Mm-hmm. The other thing is that everybody's been like bad-mouthing Bill O'Brien since he lost his job in Houston last year. Mm-hmm. Bill O'Brien should be coaching college football right now, and I'm sure he probably will be. He took Kirby Smart to school in the second and third quarter of that game. Took him to school, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you look at the box score, man. Georgia was up 10-0. Georgia came out scoring and looking really good, and I was just like, all right, this is the game that we thought. And then second quarter, 24 points in the second quarter alone from Alabama. Halftime, you're at 27-17, still a close game. Alabama just dominated the rest of the way and looked good doing it. Barrett had 2 interceptions. Young was a very, very efficient game. I mean, that was his Heisman game, I believe, like you said, Ray. And it was an entertaining game to still watch. But
Jamison Williams, 7 receptions for 84 yards, 2 touchdowns. John Mechie didn't finish the game, but he had 6 receptions for 96 yards and a touchdown. I mean, Georgia had no answer for Alabama. And they had no answer for him. And I mean, and the crazy thing is I'm watching it and I'm like, is this really happening again? Is Georgia playing like this again? And here's why I don't get into like people say, oh, well, Cincinnati. Cincinnati only played 1 ranked team. Georgia only played 3.
Yeah. Yep.
Georgia played the 21st, the 23rd, and the 25th ranked team. At least Cincinnati played a top 10 team.
Yeah, that's true.
The only time Georgia played a top 10 team, they lost by 20-some points.
Yeah.
They lost out. They got destroyed by Alabama.
That's true.
I mean, if you look at honestly, Jerome, I can go like right now. Go. Alabama only played 3 ranked teams this year.
Yeah.
Michigan only played 3 ranked teams this year. Cincinnati played 1. They play in a weak conference. It is what it is.
Yeah.
Notre Dame only played 3 ranked teams this year. Most of these teams only played 2 or 3 ranked teams, but we pick on Cincinnati, who only played 1.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I don't, man, like, come on.
I give you that. I give you that, right?
If you look at Georgia, if you Michigan actually, the body had probably had the best body of work because they played the 7th ranked team and the 11th ranked team. Everyone else played people. Alabama played the 8th ranked team, and then 22nd, 23rd.
Yeah.
So it's not like people only look for like when Notre Dame plays a bad team, it's usually because that team's having a down year. Stanford.
Yeah.
One of them teams are having a bad year this year, so now it looks like Notre Dame didn't play anybody.
Yeah.
Notre Dame plays as well a competition of football as any team in the country. And I'm just only I don't even want to get into that. I'm saying most of these teams are only playing a couple ranked teams, man.
No,
It's not like they're playing 12 games and 8 teams are ranked. None of them are. So
yeah. All right, my guy Remy. What's up, Remy? Thank you for getting in here and being on a podcast. He says that Alabama will win the Natty again. Georgia can win in big games and big moments or in big moments. I guess he means, especially against Alabama until they prove me wrong, proves me otherwise. Yeah,
I think he means can't. I don't think he meant to say can. I think he means they can't win that big game.
They can't win big games, and
that's absolutely true.
Oh yeah,
Alabama. If you are a Georgia fan, you have to be looking at like we have to get rid of Kirby Smart. We're never going to beat Alabama.
Yeah,
it's never going to happen.
So I'm going to pick.
God, unless you want to wait for Michigan, unless you want to wait for Nick Saban to retire,
No, yeah, and I keep saying Kirby Smart, but it's funny living in Georgia now. Being a New Jersey resident, hearing how the fans are down here. Here's some conspiracy stuff they saying. I don't want to know how you feel about this. They're saying that Kirby Smart looked like he didn't want to pull all his tricks out the bag because he knew that Georgia was going to stay in the playoffs. So he didn't want to give away everything. He looked like
here's where I don't think that holds water. I think it's just you're reaching to hope that you still have a shot. Georgia shouldn't be in the playoffs right now. They shouldn't be right now. They shouldn't be. They should not be. They shouldn't be.
Oh, okay. All right. We're gonna get into it now. Let's do it now then.
I'm ready.
We're talking about what. All right. Now we're gonna talk about it because just cross that tier right there. And I'm gonna write this on here. Did the committee get it right? I mean, essentially, we got Cincinnati, we got Cincinnati, we got Georgia, we got Alabama, and we got Michigan. The four
they got
did they get it right, and did they get the ranking?
They got 1 and 2 right. 3 should be Cincinnati, and 4 should be whoever you think should be there besides Georgia.
So Georgia goes from 1 to not being ranked at all?
No, they're a ranked team.
Even though they played the 3rd ranked team.
They're a ranked team. They're not a top 4 team.
Really? So with that being said, who would you pick in that spot, Ray?
You pick. Could be Notre Dame, could be Baylor, could be Ohio State, could be any of the 3.
I can't do Baylor. I'm sorry, I can't do Baylor.
Okay. Well, I'm only doing Baylor because believe it or not, Baylor also played 3 teams, all top 20 teams. No one else can say that.
You are correct, Ray. You are correct on that. I can't give Baylor because you already know how that conference is.
Here's the thing, and you know what? Here's the thing. Now, I know what everyone's going to say. No one's going to beat Alabama. And I don't disagree with that. I think they're probably right. I do think Michigan has a shot. They have a shot. I'm not saying they're going to do it. They have the formula for winning. Get to the quarterback, keep him in the pocket, put pressure on him, hit him, knock him around a little bit, and run the ball on offense. That is the formula for beating Alabama. And I understand it's a lot easier said than done. I do.
Oh, yeah.
And again, if you ask me, put a gun to my head and said, do you think anybody would beat Alabama? I'm going to say no.
Mm-hmm.
But I know Georgia's not going to beat them. I see this story. I've been watching this same story for 10 years. They're not going to beat them. I would rather see Ohio State play them. I don't think Ohio State would beat them either, but it would be a better game. I don't think Notre Dame would beat Alabama either, but it'll be a better game than Georgia would be. You already know what's going to happen to Georgia. They're going to play good for a quarter, and then they're done.
Yeah. Remy agrees with you. He said, "I get what Ray is saying. Georgia after last week's look over, hyped and overrated, and now especially if you go back and look at their year, who they did really beat. And valid point. But how can you go? And this my counter argument, be devil's advocate on this one. How could you go back and say a team that was completely unranked, completely dominated every single game except two closer ones, a team that never gave up more than 20 points, only to the number 3 team that been the stable team every year in the championship game? How can you drop them that far out of the top 4? I mean, when they're number 1,
I'm not dropping that far out of the top 4. I'm saying Notre Dame is 5, Baylor 6, Ohio State 7. One of them teams should be in that 4 spot, and then Georgia could slip down to 5, and then the other 2 teams should drop down to 6 and 7. I'm fine with that. I don't want to see Georgia play in the playoffs. They're not going to win. Michigan is going to destroy them.
Really?
Really.
We're going to get into that in a couple of weeks when it gets
We are.
I'm going to hold off on that. But
I mean, Jerome, I love Georgia's defense. I do.
Correct.
But and everybody's going to – and here's the thing. Everybody's going to talk about how Georgia's quarterback wasn't that good. He's not that good. Stetson Bennett was not the reason why Georgia lost. He was not. The defense was.
Yeah.
Okay? Stetson Bennett did what he could with what he has.
Yeah.
All right? So, again, Ohio State is a more talented team on offense than Georgia is. I'd rather see that playing against Alabama than Georgia play against Alabama.
I get what you're saying. I don't know. I just think it's like I understand where you're coming from, and I understand why you're saying it.
You think Georgia will beat Ohio State?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, there's your answer right there. So who should be a higher ranked team?
Wait. Hold on. Do I think Georgia would have beat Ohio State? I think it would be a close game.
Who they beat them?
Man,
the fact that you have to think that hard about it is all you really need to say, Jerome.
Because
I would rather
the way that Michigan beat Ohio State was through defense mainly.
Correct.
Right?
And you could argue that Michigan basically dismantled Ohio State. In the end, they did. Their defense smothered Ohio State.
Okay. I will say Michigan's run offense is a lot better than Georgia's.
It is. It is. Without a doubt.
And that was what killed the Buckeyes in there. I don't know. Let me see what Remy says. He said, I never thought they would drop out of the top 4 because only being their only loss, which I said. But they're a letdown, man. Very overhyped. I can't be
here's
Alabama when it matters the most because of Alabama being a king until further notice. And real quick, he also says, "Hey, I'm a Buckeye fan. I'm in no rush for a I'm in no rush for a Bama rematch." So, all right, I get it, and I get what y'all guys saying real quick, and I'm gonna let you finish, Ray. But it's just hard for me to be like, all right, and I get it. You guys, I feel like you guys are looking at the track record, which is understandable. more than just what happened during the season, and just just based on what happened during the season, I just do not see anybody feeling like uh, that feeling that Georgia shouldn't be a top 4 team either way.
Well, let me put it this way.
Good.
Okay, Georgia lost to Alabama. Alabama was ranked 2, right?
3.
They were ranked 3.
Mm-hmm.
And they lost to them by 18 points.
Yeah.
Notre Dame lost to Cincinnati by 6.
Mm-hmm.
And they're a top 5 team.
And don't get me wrong, I still think Notre Dame maybe probably should have got in.
This is what I don't want anybody to think. I don't want anybody to think that I'm trying to I'm not a Georgia fan.
No,
I'm not trying to make a case for Notre Dame. I'm not. I'm not saying that Notre Dame belongs in the game. I'm not saying that anybody really. I think Michigan and Ohio State are the best 2 teams. Michigan and Alabama are the best 2 teams in college football right now. They are.
Mm-hmm.
They have played the most consistently through the end of the season. They're the top 2 ranked teams.
Yeah.
And I think Cincinnati belongs in there because they went undefeated.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the last team is debatable. And the fact that Georgia lost to a top 5 team by 18, to me, takes them out of the top 4.
It's hard, Ray, because it depends on the team. I don't know. I just don't see. I personally think they got it right. I think the rankings should have been a little bit different. Actually, one guy that I work with, he said that he thought Michigan should have been number 1. I'm not saying that, but
I don't agree with that, only because Alabama beat the number 1 team. So how can you not put them in that number 1 spot?
Yeah,
that's all.
Yeah. Who did Alabama lose to again? Oh, Texas A&M.
Texas A&M, which was a bad loss for them. No, it was a bad loss for them. It was.
But also, you got to remember recency bias too.
Let's face it, man.
That's the thing in college football. I mean,
right. And I have to do it, and I'm guilty of this too. I need to start thinking of Alabama as a pro team. Alabama is a professional football team. So they're going to go out there and have clunkers every once in a while because they know that they're going to recover from it.
All right, I'm gonna ask a stupid question.
Good.
Alabama versus the Lions. Who wins?
No, the Lions would win, man. I'm not going there. Hell, you know where I will go though? If you need a player in the draft and you don't know who to take an Alabama guy. Because if nothing else, they're going to know how to play in an offensive system. And a pro system when they get into the league. I'm not saying they're always going to thrive because it will come down to talent in the end.
Yeah,
but you know that they know how to play, and if they were recruited by Nick Saban, they're probably good athletes.
Crazy. I don't know. It's just crazy. Well, I think and then let me see what Remy says real quick. Until we get set requirement, there will always be debate on who gets in and who gets left out. I agree with that. It's not even up to that. I think they just need to expand this thing.
They do.
Cut out the argument. Let's expand it. Let's just do it. If there's any year to do it, this was definitely the year to look at it and be like, yeah, they should expand it for real. They need to expand it.
They should. And I think
don't get me wrong. Ohio State should be in here. As much as I hate Ohio State, they should be in the playoffs. Notre Dame should be in the playoffs right now. Baylor, I'm kind of about, but even then, maybe they should be in there. They got hot late, so it's just like they gotta do something with this, man.
You look at Ole Miss. Ole Miss finished 8th. Their ranking of players that they played against is better than Georgia's.
I agree with that, yeah.
No, because they played the number 1 team, the number 22 team, and the number 28 team.
Yeah.
So 23 team. So they played all 3, but I don't even know what their record was against them teams. But they still play a very good competition of football.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about this all the time, Jerome. I know the SEC is the most athletic conference in college football. And I think that the Big Ten may be the most physical conference of football. And I lump them kind of together. I do. I think they're both really good conferences of football. Yeah. So I'll take any team from them conferences and put them above other teams. I will. But that's why I can't take a team from the Big Ten like Ohio State, who, yeah, they had a couple clunkers this year like everybody did. Georgia was a benefit of not a great schedule. And now we're seeing, honestly, Jerome, I mean, we're going to get into it next week, I guess, about the Michigan-Georgia game. Dude, Georgia doesn't have a shot. They don't have a shot.
That's tough for me to even say as a Michigan
fan. Don't you say it because you'll jinx them. I can say it.
Relax. But all right, let's get to what we're all came here for. Let's talk about some of these bowl games, man. And there's so many that we're gonna have to split some of these up. So we're gonna talk about some of these, and we're gonna talk about some of these in the coming weeks. You know, we got plenty of time. The first game is not even until the 17th, so we're gonna talk about those games first. We're gonna get our quick, analysis of who we think is gonna win. We don't got lines right now because it's so far away, so that part stinks. But we will say who we think just based on what we think, and let's get right to it. And as always, we like to talk about the names of these bowls. So if you guys know some of these names of these bowls, let us know. It's kind of, some of these are funny. They change every year, and it's just funny to talk about them. So let's get to our first game. This is going to be in the December 17th game, the Bahamas Bowl.
Bahamas Bowl.
I'm sorry, Bahamas Bowl. That's going to be against, Middle Tennessee versus Toledo. Right? Who you got in that one?
I'm going to take Toledo in that game.
Yeah, I'm going to do the same. Toledo, I feel like Toledo got the better defense, so I'm going to go with that as well.
They do.
Yeah.
They also have a good quarterback, so,
Yeah, I agree with that. So I'm gonna go with that one as well. Let's get to our next game. We got the Cure Bowl. That's gonna be Northern Illinois versus Coastal Carolina. Who you taking in that one?
I'll take Coastal Carolina in that game.
You already know how I feel about Coastal Carolina. That's one of the inside the hatches, teams. We like that team over here. So I'm gonna take them. They had a good year. They lost 2 games. It was ranked forever. And then they lost 2 games, unfortunately, and they couldn't get it. But I'm taking Coastal as well. All right, let's get to our next one. Let's get the Boca Raton game.
Boca Raton Bowl.
Boca Raton Bowl.
Yes.
Sorry. That is West Kentucky versus Appalachian State. The team that did beat Coastal Carolina. Who taking that game?
I'm taking Appalachian State in that game.
I am on the same trend as you. I think App State got some ballers over there, and it's also cool. Before we get to our next one, thoughts on Clemson next year? Lost a lot of their stats. DJ didn't look good. Bounce back year or decline continues? I think I'm gonna briefly say this. As long as that offensive line is not better or renewed, they're not going to be able to do nothing. I was very high on DJ before the season started. As many of you probably knew from the beginning of our podcast, I think he can have a bounce back year, but he definitely learned a lot this year. And they've been playing a lot better at the end of the year. So I think they're going to bounce back. Will it be a playoff team again? Maybe not, because they're going to still losing some guys this year. Ray, what do you think?
I think they need to build up their offensive line a little bit. I think 2023 will be a better year for them.
Yeah.
I would like to see who they hire for defensive coordinator before I make any serious predictions, though. Because actually, when I think I said to you guys last week that I heard that Brent Venables was going to be the new coach of Oklahoma, and honestly, Jerome, I heard that from a trainer from Clemson. So I wasn't just saying that like I heard a report. I heard it from someone that works in Clemson's camp that he was going to get that job. So,
wow, Ray got the inside scoop. Okay, Ray. All right, our guy Ray got.
I know a guy who's a personal trainer, who lives over in Northeast Philly, and he talks and he's a trainer for can't remember the name of the college. It's Widener. And he talks a different, and he was the one that told me, "Yo, man, it looks like Venables is going to get the job at Oklahoma." And that's why last week when I mentioned it to you guys, I mean, I wasn't reporting it. I was saying that someone told me that was going to happen, basically. So,
hey, if it happened, Ray's the inside scoop, man. Ray's the inside scoop. We got that. We got the inside scoop right there. So if you see it happen, Ray's your guy. He's gonna be the new Adam Scheffler for the college football. All right, let's get to our other games real quick. Let's get to the New Mexico game. That's gonna be UTEP versus
Fresno State.
UTEP was 7-5. Fresno State was 9-3. Who taking in that one, Ray?
I want to say Fresno State. I don't like picking games without looking at the lines, but I'm going to go by. I think Fresno State is a little bit more athletic than them, so I'll take them.
I'm gonna go with UTEP. I like their running game. I think this time of the year you got to run the ball. I like UTEP's running game. I just think that
playing in New Mexico, man, weather is not an issue.
You're right. You are correct. Here's a New Mexico, but I'm gonna take UTEP on this one. I just think I'm gonna take it. All right, next game, the Independence Bowl. We got BYU versus UAB. Ray, who are you taking there?
I'm gonna take BYU.
Yeah, I'm gonna take BYU as well. They're not the same BYU as last year, but they were a surprisingly tough team, and I give them, they was 10-2. They lost only 2 games. They played some good games this year. I mean, I think their losses were pretty bad losses though.
They were. They were.
But their wins were pretty good wins. So,
well, they went from a team last year where they threw the ball a lot. They tried to be a more balanced offense this year.
Yeah.
But if you shut down their run game, which a couple of teams did, they'll again, their defense is out there too long. Then you kind of get sloppy and, give up points they shouldn't be giving up. So
yeah, and I also think that they were still trying to find their identity as well,
They were. They lost their quarterback, and that's always – a little bit transition from one quarterback, especially a guy who was as good as our quarterback was last year, So
definitely. Remy says better shot at conference title next year. Miami or UCF? USC, sorry.
Miami.
I'm gonna say Miami because you have no idea what they're gonna do at quarterback position. At least Miami has somebody that they can.
They have that Van Dyke here who looks good, and first of all, the new coach at Miami is a good coach.
Yeah,
and he's a Miami alum. He's a Miami guy, and I think that Miami probably, for the first time in maybe 20 years, has actually hired the right coach.
Yeah, I agree. And like I said, they got the quarterback in place, and me and Ray have been talking about this all year that even with Miami and Florida State. 2 teams that are very talented, but they just couldn't get it together. And I think Miami has the talent. They have good players on that team. And you got the quarterback that might be there now. He's not a set in stone quarterback. Don't get me wrong. But he showed a lot of promise this year. Maybe the new coaching will get them to a higher level.
He did. He showed a lot of promise, and he seems to have a good head on his shoulders. And he's already sending on a lot of memes with, looking forward to the new coaching staff, looking forward to building off what we started last year. And again, I think Miami hired the right guy this time. And we talked for the last 3 years to run about how Miami has talent. They just don't seem to put it all together. I think they hired the right coach. And I don't know about them winning. I don't think they're going to win a championship, a conference title next year. But I think it will be way better than USC will be. I do.
Yeah. USC, again, we don't know what's going to happen with Slovis. I think he is I don't know if he's a junior or senior. I can't remember.
I think he's a junior. But he could come out. If I were him, dude, honestly, I would stick it out and maybe play one more year because right now you're going to have a hard time drafting him before the 5th round. So if I were him, I would go back to school for one more year.
Yeah, and you got a guy in Lincoln Riley who's a quarterback coach.
Correct.
So that helps him. And so maybe if he has a turnaround, that's different. But it's so many question marks with the quarterback position. You don't know if Solo's going to be back. You know, if he's going to actually be the starter. You know, I'm hearing some transfer situations and things like that. And I know they just got Malachi Nelson, but that's not going to be in anytime soon. He's a 2021 graduate, so he's not going to be there next year. So they have a future, but as a better shot for next year, next season, I would definitely have to give it to Miami. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I just think that if I were the USC, if I was Slovis, I would probably try to come back one more year. And there's always two ways of looking at it, man. Maybe you don't get drafted at all, and you can pick what team you want to go to.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's going to be some teams that will take a flyer on this kid because he did show promise 2 years ago. And maybe this way, if you want to play for a certain team, maybe you can have your agent contact team and say that team and say, I'd really love to come and try it for your team. Man, there's always ways to get your foot in the door, man.
Oh yeah. Chris says, "What's up, Chris? Thanks for being in here. Over and under 5-year. Bill Kelly gets fired from LSU. I don't want to answer this question. I don't like to speculate on firing coaches unless you're Harbaugh. But and I was wrong for that. But I can't say that right now. I can't.
I mean,
I can do over and under. I'm gonna say under. If I'm correct on that, simply because we don't know how that team's gonna be put together. Who's going to be the quarterback? You know what I mean? How the recruiting is going to be. You know, it could be a lot better because Brian Kelly's there. You know, it could be worse. I don't know. What do you think, Ray?
I would say I would probably go under also. Not that I think LSU will be looking to get rid of Brian Kelly because I think he's a good coach.
Yeah.
But, I mean, here's the thing. Like, what do you do in LSU to not get fired? Because the guy just won a national title 2 years ago and he got fired. That's so true. What do you do not to get fired? I mean, because if LSU's boosters on alumni thought process was, well, we want to be Alabama, so does everybody else, people.
Not happening tonight.
Yeah.
Not happening tonight. So yeah, that's it. I just think that's I appreciate the question, Chris, but that's just hard to say right now, especially like it can go either way. Like Ray said, they just won a championship 2 years ago and fired Coach L, and but then you got a guy in Brian Kelly who can be a great recruiter. But you don't know how that's gonna go. I don't know. It's really tough, especially just right now. Maybe after a year, you can probably tell. I don't know. It's just
the question really is this: Brian Kelly goes in there and does a good job, recruits a lot of good players. I mean, we already know that it took him 3 years to give up play calling at Notre Dame. No, I'm sorry, 4 years, almost 5 years to give up some play calling at Notre Dame. Is it going to take him that long at LSU? Are you going to have and you know how they are in the SEC, man? They're going to be nitpicking everything this guy does.
Yeah.
So, as much scrutiny as he was at Notre Dame, he also survived at Notre Dame for 12 years and did a pretty good job. I'm not going to say he did. He did a pretty good job. He didn't do the job, but he did a pretty good job. That's the problem. After 2 or 3 or 4 years, if he doesn't do the job in LSU, they'll probably move on, right?
Definitely. Now that the heat is off Harbaugh, which coach is in the highest seat next season? FSU.
Who should be or who will be?
Good question. Because honestly, I think a lot of the coaches that should be on the hot seat are already moved already. I mean, what team would I put in that category? I mean, there's a bunch of teams, man. I would say always just some of the most inconsistent teams. I mean, you know, I
Yeah,
would have
well,
probably said Oklahoma. They already moved on.
I'm gonna say Ryan Day. Because if
Mm,
Ohio State doesn't, if they're not a top 4 team again next year, you might
mm,
hear people start to say, "Well, yo,
mm. Okay.
we are the Ohio State. What's going on now? This is the second year in a row
Mm.
now. We're not even in the dance. We don't have to be in the dance, but we have to be in the dance."
Yeah, because honestly, you know, there have been some people that says Ryan Day inherited a really good team.
He did
You know.
with a pretty good coaching staff.
Mm-hmm.
So he could be the guy. The guy should be Kirby Smart. Right now, Kirby Smart should be
Yeah.
scrutinized.
Oh yeah. Okay. That's
But
good.
Ryan Day will be the guy next year that if Ohio State's not in the playoffs, maybe you will start hearing about him either stepping down or them removing him. So
Yeah, I don't see him stepping down. I think he likes that program too much. I think that they're gonna have to fire him. They might say he's stepping down, but I think he's gonna have to get fired. I really do.
again,
All
I
right.
mean, if you're talking about a high profile team with a
Yeah.
pretty good high profile type coach, that would be the team I would go to. Of course, all these teams, the Brian Kellys, the guys for the Oklahoma coach, him moving,
Nick
they're going to
Raleigh.
be under scrutiny, right? They're going to be people are going to be watching that with a microscope. They are, without a doubt.
Yeah.
But the guy who's been there for a couple of years now and has been pretty good, Ryan Day, Kirby Smart should be fired. Okay, I'm just going to put it. I'm plain and simple. When he gets destroyed by Michigan, maybe Georgia fans will start to believe me too. He should be
Mm,
fired, man. He's done.
that's crazy. That's crazy. All right, let's get to our last couple of bowl games so we can get out of here. All right, we're gonna go to the New Orleans. No, I'll skip some. I'm sorry. Let's New Orleans is gonna be last. Let's do the Lending Tree Bowl. That's gonna be in Alabama. Liberty versus East Michigan. Who you got in that one, Ray?
Taking Liberty.
I'm taking Liberty too. I
Yeah.
mean, they got Malik Willis. He's
They
the
have the
better
quarterback.
quarterback. They
Exactly.
got the better defense, I think. You
They do.
know, kudos to Eastern Michigan. They played well. They got the same record as Liberty as well, but I just think Liberty's just a better team, got a better quarterback.
Well, I will go with the team. If I see two evenly matched teams, I'll go with the team with the better quarterback or the better coach. I think that
Yeah,
both teams have good coaches. I'll take the team with a little better of a quarterback.
I agree. I agree. All right, let's get to the LA Bowl. Man, again, lazy with some of these names. we
Yeah.
got the we got the Utah State versus Georgia State. Who you got in that one, Ray?
I'm going to take Utah State.
Yeah. This one's definitely a close one. I was leaning towards Utah State as well because of the quarterback play as well.
Yes.
Better quarterback play. I will say Oregon State been surprisingly better than I thought they might have been this year. But I'm still gonna give Utah State as well. I mean, yeah, Utah State as well. All right, last game of the day, New Orleans Bowl. Obviously, we know where that's gonna be. It's Louisiana versus Marshall. Louisiana was 12-1. Marshall was 7-5. Who you got in that one, Ray?
I'm going to take Louisiana. They're usually a pretty good team. I mean,
Yeah.
I have a soft spot in my heart for Marshall, but I think Louisiana is a better team than they should
Yeah.
be. So.
And Ray, you took the words right out of my mouth. I mean, I like Marshall. I think, been following them every year. Last year they had such a great season, such a great season. That defense definitely took a step back. One of our guys, Trevor Beckett, that we interviewed from Inside the Hatches, was one of those key, guys in that position. He went off to play in the NFL. I believe he's still in the Lions now. Ever since they left their leader of that defense left, it just seemed like the defense has not been the same this year. And I will say that there is a team that's gonna challenge them defensively. It's gonna be Louisiana's offense. So I'm taking Louisiana on that one all day.
Yeah.
All right. So guys, if stick tight with us throughout the week, we're gonna talk about more bowl games. We're just hitting the tip of the iceberg with some of these games just to get that. We want to get a little bit closer to the other games to really talk about those games. We got so long, like I don't remember it being this long after like the championship game. I mean, am I going crazy? But I never felt like it was. It's like 3 weeks out right now. Man, that seems such a long time.
Well, every year it gets a little bit longer. It seems like.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I agree with that.
couple of days here, a couple of days there. A little bit earlier this year than last year. Probably more games too, because there were some teams not playing last year, so that's
Correct.
probably
That's probably correct. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I don't know. It just feels like it's a little stretched out longer than normal. But we will be talking about this as well as we go in, and we will start rolling into some of the draft stuff as well. So keep it tight. Stick around with us throughout this bowl season. We got a game this weekend. Navy versus Army, I believe it is.
Yep.
So maybe that'd be a cool game to watch on Saturday. But not a lot going on this week, at least in the college football ring. So hang tight. Read headlines. Speculate some coaches going there, and wait until some of these bowl games come really start rolling in, which will start next week at least. Some of these games that we're talking about. Wait, not even next week, man. Next week will be like the 12th. Yeah, like that weekend. I think it'll start. Anyway, it's gonna be a minute before we get some more college football. But keep it tight with us, man. We're gonna be talking about all this stuff. We do appreciate all our viewers and commenters. Remy, Chris, whoever else was definitely looking at here. Thank you for being on. And if you watching this on the replay, you can watch this on the replay on YouTube. So go in there and make sure you like and subscribe, so when we go on, leave a comment on there, or we will comment on there. But if you want to check us out live, make sure that you go on our website or go on YouTube and hit that notification button so you know when we are live, so you can put in your live comments as well, and we will answer them just like we did with Mr. Chris and Mr. Remy. So thank you guys for checking that out. That's right down there. Check us out on InsideTheHatches.com, where you find all the content. We got blogs, we got gaming, we got fantasy football. The fantasy football playoffs is starting off. I will be in there. I can't say the same with Ray. I do apologize for that. But hey man, it's always next year, and it's definitely a fun ride. But hey guys, check all that out at InsideTheHatches.com. Also make sure you follow us on all our social media. And check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and Google Podcasts. You find all your podcasts, because a lot of guys that we interview, and a lot of guys we interview, we talked about them in here. Go check them out. Go listen to the interviews with us. See where maybe their NFL journeys start out. Before they went to the NFL. So go check that out. Inside the Hatches on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. Guys, I thank y'all so much for being here. We do appreciate all the college football lovers out there. You guys are the best. We enjoy talking about college football. We're going to be talking about some draft stuff a lot very, very soon. So keep that locked, especially if you love the draft. It will be right here on RPO College Football Podcast. So I'm your host, Jerome Jones. That's Ray Roberts right there. Ray Roberts, you got anything that you want to add to close this out, sir?
Well, looking forward to the bowl season. I look forward to the playoffs, no matter who's in them. So that's always great. Yeah. Like most people celebrate Christmas in December. Mine is in April during the NFL draft. So I'm looking forward to that more than anything else right now, to be honest with you. So
yes, sir. Yes, sir. So good luck with everything, Ray. Your Miami Dolphins are doing pretty well.
They're playing better. We'll see.
I'm sorry to be saying this, but I'm kind of rooting against y'all this year because we got your first round pick.
Don't worry, we're gonna finish with a better record than the 49ers, so it's all good.
But hey, Ray, if you guys play well, you will prove a point that I made before, because I did say that although the Eagles got your first round pick, I don't think it's gonna be a top 10 pick. So if y'all keep playing the way y'all are, you might prove me right.
I just think that it's a shame that they got in such a bad start. That's all.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But hey, man, you guys are rolling now, right on time, right in
the what it is, man. Two is balling out right now, so I'm good to go.
Hey, and you said it, Ray. You said it.
Give the kids some time. Be patient, man. Yeah, Wait, man. Imagine how good he's going to be with an offensive line and a running game behind him.
Yeah. I need a running back bad.
He's got one legit wide receiver right now that plays every week, and he's a rookie, and he's still playing well.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, man. People need to remember what Troy Aikman went through his first season, and he had a better offensive line than Miami does right now.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
thank you guys for checking us out, man. Hope you guys tune in next week where we talk about more bowl games. We talk about more drama, more great college football content as always. So thank you guys so much. See you on the flip side and have fun and enjoy your weekend.